Hello everyone, welcome back. Rabbi Abe here. Today I want to talk about how to have it all. Having it all. Haven't you ever heard that? I wish I could have it all. Well, we can have it all, but we first have to know, what does it mean to have it all? Does that mean having everything we want in life? Maybe, maybe not. We have to look at how life is put together, sort of like a pie. And every pie, every slice of that pie represents another area of our life. So let's say one slice of the pie represents our money, the sustenance that we have in our life. And another slice may represent health and all things that are related to health matters. Another one is love, intimate relationships. Another slice might be family relationships, and so on. So we have different aspects of our life, different slices of life, as it were. And so what does it actually mean to have it all? Well, I want to read to you from the ancient Kabbalists, and by understanding this, we can then begin to understand how to actually, yes, have it all, because it is possible. But we have to understand first, what does it actually mean? Now, and this is the deeper study, okay? So just be forewarned, it's part of the deeper study of the Kabbalah, which is called the 10 Luminous Emanations. It is the study of the tree of life, and it explains to us how that actually works, okay? And it is from page 3 in this printing, section 2, paragraph 30. And it says this: וכאשר עלה ברצונו הפשוט לברוא העולמות ולהציל הנאצלים. And when it rose upon his simple desire to create the worlds and to emanate the emanated beings. Now that, of course, has a concealed meaning. I'm going to try to put it as simply as possible. What the actual first stage of creation is the creation of a desire. Now, to understand what that means on a deeper level, an even deeper level, you would need to learn a little bit more. Maybe you would need to learn with me privately. But what was the initial stage of creation was the creation of a desire to receive the Creator's light. The Creator's light representing every form of fulfillment. Anything that we can imagine, anything that can fulfill us. Of course, not in a physical way, but if you really think about it, we're not really after physical things in life. We're after the fulfillment that we hope those physical things will bring us, whether it's money, whether it's a relationship. You know, we're not looking just for the body of the person, but we're looking for a certain level of, well, maybe it's love, maybe it's pleasures, maybe it's security, maybe it's freedom. Those things aren't physical. And every physical thing, you know, you want a certain kind of car. It's not really the physical. You don't want the metal and the rubber, okay? It's the metal and the rubber and the style that's only creating the opportunity for me to receive something that I really enjoy about this car. I love the way it drives. I love the way it handles. I love the way it looks. Again, these things aren't really physical. They are visceral. They are emotional. They are non-tangible forms of fulfillment. And so it is with everything that we can possibly desire in life. In the end of the day, they are not physical, but rather the physical things in our life we hope will transfer to us the feeling. It's not something that we consciously think about, but the pleasures and the fulfillments of life are 99.9% intangible. We can't hold them in our hands, but they are transferred to us via, most often, the physical things in our life. And, of course, also non-physical things. Okay. But where did we get the desire for that? Where did desire originate? Well, according to the Kabbalists, it originated in the creative process when the Creator created what would eventually become the souls of humanity, as well as everything else in the creation, okay? Because everything has some degree of soul, whether the animals, the vegetable kingdom, even the inanimate, has a spark. But we're discussing now the human kingdom and the souls of humanity, which would ultimately become the souls of humanity, divided up into various pieces, let's say. And that's what was created, desire. So when it says, it arose in his simple desire to create the olamot, to create the worlds, and to emanate the emanated, what it's talking about here is the creative process by which we go to create fulfillment in our life. Okay? And I'm really just simplifying it over here. Now, in order to understand that, he's saying, within the commentary, he says, in number 30, אין לתמוה איך נבחן רצון באינסוף הגבוה מכל רעיון עד כדי לומר עלה ברצונו הפשוט וכו'. So, he says, we should not be surprised. We should not be surprised, he says, how it is that there is this great desire that is the greatest desire which is possible, which is found in the endless world, as it were. Meaning, at that point in the creative process, when there was only the light of the Creator and the vessel or the potential of the souls of humanity as one. So, they were effectively one thing bound together without any separation. The souls of humanity and the God force of the Creator were connected and bound together, according to the Kabbalists, without any form of separation whatsoever. This is how things effectively began. Now, he says we shouldn't be surprised about this desire, and this desire that was present there, not upon the Creator, but upon the vessel of the creation, again, that would later be the souls of humanity, that this desire is the greatest desire that is possible, and it was only found there. In other words, as though to say our desire, or whatever desire we could possibly have in our life, is nowhere near that. And I'll explain why, and why that is important in this idea of having it all. Because everything, according to the Kabbalah, depends on desire. Which means the spiritual rule that he explains in another place, where the amount of spiritual light and of fulfillment will be directly dependent on the level and the size of the desire of a person. Now, don't think desire just means I want. It does not. That just because I want something, that doesn't mean I get it. And that, I think that's obvious in life, that we don't necessarily get what we want, or at least what we think we want. But, having said that, understand that desire, the real one, the true desire, according to how Kabbalah explains that, and I'll give you a few words about that, hang on, that creates the dimension of what we are capable of receiving. It is a direct reflection of the level and greatness of the desire to receive the Creator's light. And he says the greatest level of desire it only existed in that place called the endless. What is our desire here relative to what the desire is in the endless? Now, you have to keep a few things in mind in order to understand what he's talking about over here. First, that the desire of the endless is the souls of humanity desiring what? Well, there are not that many options, are there? there is the light of the Creator. Now, the light of the Creator represents what? All fulfillment. Every possible fulfillment that you and I could even think of, and especially everything that we can't think of, everything in a potential state, everything that we need that we don't even know that we need, which is also an endless amount of things, are all included within that endless. And what he's telling us is the desire in the endless is for all of it. All of it, all of it, all of it. The souls of humanity desired all of it, ultimately, endlessly. Why is that an important thing for us to understand? Well, I'll explain. You see, in this world, after those souls became separated, because the souls did undergo a process which is called a shattering of the vessel, which basically means, again, and I'm simplifying it here, where this vessel of receiving the Creator's beneficence broke apart into many, many, many pieces. I won't go into why now, but it's part of the creative process that all these sparks, they're called sparks, of that vessel ultimately became the souls of humanity. And again, I say everything else in the universe because everything has a spark of light that enables it to exist in this world. Human consciousness is, of course, the greatest piece, or the largest soul, if you will. So, okay, having said that, then we need to understand, well, so what are our desires relative to the desire in the endless? And I use pizza, of course, because I like pizza. You know, I use pizza as an example. So, let's say I want pizza. Now, do I want the flour? Do I want the water, the yeast, or the cheese, or the sauce? No, the whole thing together is pizza, and it's delicious, and, you know, it's yummy. So, you know, if I'm in the mood for pizza, you know, and I would like to have a slice of pizza, yeah. What do we need to understand over here? Now, the Kabbalists will tell us later that if you want to, you know, if you have a mountain and you want to take a rock from the mountain, how do you separate a rock from the great big mountain, a little rock? You need an axe. So you can chop a piece of the mountain and you can take a rock from the mountain. Now, important that the rock is made of the same stuff as the mountain, isn't it? The same. It's the same material. It's exactly the same essence. It's just a piece of the whole mountain. So if we understand that, that means the essence of our desire and fulfillment is actually all part of the same thing. Think about it. Fulfillment is an energy. It's a force of fulfillment. Now, all of it at once, what the Kabbalist tells us, is that the vessel in the endless, remember, the souls of humanity, wanted everything, all of it, wanted it all. But what do? We take an axe. Well, we don't really take a physical axe, do we? No. You know what our axe is? They explain to us. Our desires and the limitation of our desires. So we take our desire for something and we limit it from everything else. Meaning, I want pizza. Well, wait a minute. Don't you want health? Don't you want money? Don't you want abundance? Don't you want all your relationships to be perfect? Don't you want safety, protection? Don't you want to, make sure you're driving down the right street at the right time and not the wrong street at the wrong time? Don't you want those things? Well, who will say no? Who will say, no, I don't want that? Of course, we all do. Are we thinking about that when we eat the pizza? No, we're thinking about, I like the pizza, it's delicious, it's yummy, I'm going to have a slice of pizza. So what do? So let me explain to you the reality of the situation and where we are, generally speaking. So the reality of the situation is, and I know many of you will be able to relate to this, all energy is connected, ultimately, to every other energy. We cannot separate one energy from another energy. Energy is energy. The pebble, the stone, contains the essence of the entire mountain. We don't change that, but in a way we do. We limit it. How? With our limited desire, we limit the impact of the pebble and its relationship with the entire mountain. So we limit the power of that stone, which is potentially connected and always is connected, because we're discussing energy, we're not discussing physical matter. And energy, you can't separate one energy from another energy. But unless you use the axe. And what's the axe again for us? The axe is our desires. We separate it how? By eliminating everything else and by focusing our desire on one thing. I mean, do we think when we're eating the pizza, you know what, I want this pizza to make me successful next Thursday in my negotiation. I want this pizza to help me in my relationship. We're not thinking like that. I don't think, most of us are not thinking in that way. We don't elevate. This is the real meaning of elevating whatever it is that we're doing. We elevate it to a state of non-limitation. Non-limitation, how? By thinking that I want this, that I'm going to receive a pleasure, a fulfillment from. I want it to connect me to everything else that I want and need in my life. That doesn't mean I'm not willing to work for it and do whatever is necessary, but I'm opening the gateway to connect to everything. You see, when I said in the beginning, life is like a pie, and every slice is a different area of things that we need. What we will tend to do, unfortunately, is focus. We focus. You know, I need more money. I'm going to focus all my energy on creating more money. Oh, that's great. That's what you need. But, you know, you may succeed in making one slice bigger. But look at the pie. What happens when you make one slice bigger? You run the risk of making the other slices also that you need smaller. Because focus may get you what you want. However, you may limit other things that you need without realizing it. What the Kabbalists are saying over here is actually something very, very profound that we really need to understand. And that is simply that everything is connected to everything else. When we begin to think that way, everything that I do that gives me pleasure, that gives me sustenance, that gives me a good feeling, is connected to everything else. So what must I do? What do we do practically? Well, I'll tell you, it's very simple and also very difficult at the same time. Because the most difficult part is remembering to do it. What I am about to do right now, if it's eating, if it's going bowling, if it's going out on a date, I'm doing this and I want this to elevate me, to connect me to everything else that I need. And that also means showing me the pathway if this is the right thing for me, if it's not the right thing for me. Why? Every date is going to be the right person for you for a long-term relationship? No. But if you're thinking to elevate, it will direct you to what's more the right thing for you, because it's opening the gate for you to fulfillment. I mean, this is, I know this might sound crazy or, you know, but this is how it works. You see, we don't see things directly. You know, the Kabbalists are telling us that the connection that we make will cause things to happen in a circular way, if that makes any sense to you. Because life, the spiritual world, is not linear. It is circular. And that means don't look for the direct cause and effect result immediately and be able to understand it in a linear way. Oh, I did this and this happened. It doesn't work that way. It's circular, which means things will come as the result of the things that we do energetically and spiritually. They will come, but they will generally come in a circular way that you won't be able to connect the cause to the effect. And therefore, consistency is the main feature here. You know, being consistent, what you do in your spiritual work, in your spiritual connections, are what will show you the success. Measure the trend. Look at how you're, over a 3-month period, is your life better? Are things improving? The only way you'll know. You can't know, well, I did this and nothing happened. Oh, but things don't work that way. You must at least put the energy and the effort in, be consistent, and then you can judge, hey, this works or it doesn't. And there's no way to know until you're consistent in the practice. And again, here we're discussing the understanding that everything is connected to everything else. To have this awareness at all times, whenever we do anything, that we get any energy from, any satisfaction, any pleasure, any fulfillment, I want this to connect me to everything else that I need in my life. Again, it's outside the box, but you try it consistently and see what happens. Many blessings, and I'll see you very soon on the next video, guys. All the best and lots of love.